Hi, Zizaran here, and obviously a lot of people are going to be playing Explosive Arrow in the upcoming league, and I wanted to show you guys how you can make a nice bow like mine. So there are a couple of ways to make them, and these are a lot less complicated than the Toxic Rainbows because we don't have, something like a Hunter mod. But let's take a look at it in Path of Exile. So here is one way to make it, and we have a item level 50 short bow. This is assuming you have the porcupine cards, which honestly do look like a bit of a pain to farm in the upcoming league because we don't know if we have an early drop location. Some div cards are being shuffled the location of where they drop, but assuming that it still drops in terrace, that's a tier 13. So it's going to be very, very annoying to get early on. And you could farm it in Act 8, but that could take literally hours. First, we're going to start off with a Shrieking Essence of Dread. Now, this is going to make it +2, and now we're looking for a couple of things. Like, really ideally, not necessarily for your first bow, but it is worth holding out until you get attack speed. That is like one of the most ideal stats we're looking for. And we want a open prefix and an open suffix. So we just got to keep using a few. You see that we're getting full suffixes and stuff here. Now, this one would be doable to make a +3 bow, but let's keep rolling until we get what we really want, and I think a lot of people will. Attack speed is very, very large for this build, so it is worth holding out for and will make a big difference. The reason for that is that if you don't hit the 20 fusings, you're looking at a pretty big damage reduction. So both accuracy and attack speed are stats that would be easy for new players to overlook, is very important in the build. But now we have the bow we want, and let's say that it had an additional prefix. If it has attack speed as a suffix, I would be very tempted to use an annulment in order to try to get that it has a open prefix and open suffix. Now we want to use the mod Cannot Roll Attack mods, which you get from Cure Blades. So we go to the bench and it's a suffix. So Cannot Roll Attack modifiers. This is going to cost you 1 Exalted Orb, and you need an actual pure Exalted Orb for this. Now for the next step, you need to Exalt the bow. And for this, we could do, for example, we could do a Leo Research Exalt. So level Leo to level 3 and do the Research Safe House. If you do the Katarina, you get 2 Exalts, but you only need him to be level 3 to be able to Exalt the item. You could also just slam it with an Exalt. And now, the only mod that is left is +1 Socketed Gems. So this is really, really nice and the best way to get it on an item level 50 bow. However, there is another thing we can do as well. Short bows are kind of hard to find at the end game, and the reason we want a short bow is because we want so many off colors, and we'll talk about how to color the bow later, but we want so many off colors that a low attribute requirement is really, really good for getting a bunch of off colors. So what I would recommend doing is putting short bow on your item filter so you can find them at the end game. Now, they are actually very rare because it's such a low level item that the game is mostly focusing on dropping high level items, right? Like thicket bows. But we really want a short bow, so put that on your filter, and then we will show you how to make one with fossils. So now we're going to go back again with a short bow, but let's say that we have found a 82 short bow. Now this one is important that is above item level 64, or it cannot work with the fossil craft. So now the fossils we are going to use is metallic, we are going to use corroded, and we are going to use jagged. And with this, it is a 1 in 4 of getting +3. So we got it on the second try. Now, this does not have attack speed. So you want to keep doing this ideally until you can get attack speed. So it could take some tries, but even just for making a decent bow, it's pretty good. So one thing that's really worth mentioning here is bows attack fire an additional arrow. And this is actually can be a bad stat because you never want to fire an even amount of arrows. If you only have one source of additional arrow, you'll basically end up firing a V and firing around your enemies. So if you got +1 on your crowbar and on your bow, that's good because then you'll still fire 3 like this, but you'd never want to fire around your target. Trying to get attack speed, I think was 1 in 50 on average or 1 in 40. And ideally, you really do want +3 with attack speed. Again, it is a very, very big stat. And once you do have the bow, then the last stat is the minions minions get up to 22% increased attack speed. And the reason for that is that we're using the node on the skill tree that does minion attack speed also applies to you. So it's very, very big. You want so much attack speed on this build. Now, if you replace Jagged with Shuddering, you have a slightly higher chance of hitting the attack speed roll. We got it on the first try here, but obviously Shuddering is more expensive. And you're still very often going to hit the bow gems. As you can see, they're hitting almost every time, and now you're way more likely to get attack speed. Now, on a short bow, it's not too hard to off-color. Generally, you would do 1 red, 1 blue, and you can see it only has a dex requirement of 26, and that's how colors are chosen. So if something has 150 dex, it's going to favor green gems a lot more. So you do 1 red, 1 blue until you have 4 off colors. That's generally 45 chromes on average. And after that, you have 2 choices. Harvest has an option that will say like, turn an item 1 red, 1 blue. Sometimes a rarer option will be like, you know, give it a red socket, give it a blue socket, and that'll specifically be like a non-red one or a non-blue. So that is a really good option as well. And if you fight Betrayal and do Rishi on Research on level 3, he can give you up to 3 white sockets. And if you fight Katarina and kill him at level 4, he can give you up to 6 white sockets. So that is some good ways to get off colors there. So in a pinch, if you can't get the last red socket, let's say you have 2 blue, 2 red, and 2 green, you can use, for the champion, you can replace LA damage with attacks with Hypothermia. The reason Hypothermia works is that Skitterbots are going to be chilling for us. The Hierophant has a really hard time fitting Skitterbots, so we can't use Hypo there, but you can replace, for example, Inspiration with either Deadly Ailments or Swift Affliction. So you're not completely bricked if you're not able to get the 5 off-color bow. Now, on an Imperial bow, it's quite a lot harder to get off colors because it has such a higher dex requirement. And obviously the bow is fine. It has some LA damage with attacks to compensate for slightly lower attack speed. But again, very high dex requirement. This might be the go-to for a lot of people because there is a good divination card that drops for that in like all the sand areas. So like dunes, desert. That is a good choice too. It's like 22 divination cards for a 16 item level 100 bow. And for this, it's basically going to be the same. You would probably still do 1 red, 1 blue, and at least have 3 off color. That should be very easy to get 3, and then you again proceed with Harvest. I hope you guys have an amazing time in 3.17, and I hope this helps you craft a really good bow if you're playing Explosive Arrow or anything that does need a +3 bow. Obviously, things like Toxic Rain has even more advanced crafting things for hunter bows and stuff like that. But either way, sub if you liked the video, thanks for watching, but more importantly, try to die less than I do. Okay then.